JB here, July 22nd, 2024, 8:50 on this fine Monday. Talk about the market, some of the names I'm looking at, go from there. But here we are after a rough end to the week. S&P closed down the last three sessions, down nearly 2% on the week. The Nasdaq was down nearly 4%. On the flip side, the Dow and small caps closed in the green. Start of at first it looked like a rotation out of the mega cap names into small caps. Then the Dow was actually holding up. A lot of that had to do with United Healthcare. And then Thursday and Friday, it just seemed like all indexes and stocks were falling. So profit taking with markets at highs is at the top. A lot of varying great, not great, but uh, comical stories over the weekend. People always like to do comparisons between 2000 and all these other times where we've had some pullbacks. But big week ahead. We have earnings. We have Tesla and Google on Tuesday. We also have PCE data on Friday, which is preferred gauge of inflation for the Fed. Market finds some footing. I think that bode well. I'm watching that 551 handle on the SPY. That to me, that seems like key support resistance. We churned around that on Thursday quite a bit. Tried to get over that on Friday, couldn't. And I think if we can close over that, or at least hold today's gains, not break 551, I think it sets up for at least some chop here, and then we can work our way back up into the high 555, 560 level. Uh, and I always like to keep things in perspective. And you take a look at the Nasdaq candle; it was down nearly it was 3.96% to the downside for the Qs last week. And you look at the candle, and it pretty much just sets up right with mid-April. So, of course, if we have a pullback this week and we get another 3 or 4% pullback in the Nasdaq, then those candles will look a little rough. But if we have a little consolidation, then it will push higher. It'll just be one of those other profit taking moments that we've had over the last 10 years, and we'll be good to go. I went on a little rant on Thursday and Friday. I'm not going to do too much about it, but I continue to be very uh, short-term bearish gold, so negative gold. And I added some GLD puts on Friday, have the nugget puts, and then I'm looking at possibly getting some J Dust and Dust calls. The more I look at the chart and the setup and what's going on, the more I think there's an opportunity here for gold to test that 2300 handle in the coming days. So I will be looking possibly for more positions. Gold was up overnight and then just came under pressure at 7 o'clock down to 2390, and now it's chopping around here. So it's hitting lows not seen since the start of July. And you start looking at the chop we've had since April. If we break 2300, there's room down to 2100. I'm not going to sit here and think that's going to happen, but it's certainly a possibility. If you know my bear case and narrative, you look at gold and what is gold? Gold's like a store of value, it's protection. It's like a proxy for anti-government. Like you need something to hold on to, right? You need an asset. The Fed can't print more gold, right? So that's kind of the bull case, but it doesn't have a dividend. There's other stores of value now. And then typically, everybody talks how gold used to be pegged to the US dollar, right? It used to be backed by gold, and it's not. Now the dollar's backed by the economy. And they always point to that to the moment. Um, anyway, I can go on rants for a while, but if that's just my little spin. I'm not going to sit here and think it's a 0 or 1,000 or whatever, but I do think there's an opportunity for a pullback. So rants for other days. So that's my trade on gold. You take a look at Nugget. I locked some of my 42 puts in for over 100%. I think it trades down to $40 this week. So depending on what it does here today, I'm not. If it does, it's down just a little bit. If it does bounce, maybe I'll close the rest and revisit. But I think there's a setup here at least to $40 in the coming days. And then last but not least, here's my TZA calls. And that's pretty much a hedge. I got those Lamb Research puts on Thursday and Friday last week as hedges. Here's another, I think it's a great hedge considering the big move up in the small caps. The premiums looked inexpensive on a risk reward basis. So I'll continue to hold the 15s. If there's a big bounce today, big squeeze, then maybe I'll look to salvage. But for now, I think it offers a nice hedge for downside. So that's that. Talk about some of the names. Really quick, Square and Roku both pretty much flat on Friday despite the market weakness. Still love both of those. They'll have earnings at the end of the month. I posted it in the chat room. I think there's like how big the moves, like 12 or 16% for the August 2nd strikes on Roku. Surprising and rally more with the strong Netflix earnings, but maybe that kind of put the floor in. and it's ready to take the next leg. So love Square, love Roku. VKTX will report earnings after the close Wednesday. Uh, Great story. I talked about they have almost $1 billion in cash. It's $6 billion company. So you pull that out. So it's $5 billion net value, and you start looking at all the other names out there and the LOIs, MVOs. Um, it's just shocking that still trades down here. I don't know what they can do on the earnings call that's going to spark shares. They'll talk about their cash runway, their cash position, maybe give some updates on the studies. I'm not sure what else they could do. So the premiums in August look kind of expensive, but I'll be watching to possibly add some strikes into earnings for Wednesday, especially if it rallies, you can get the double whammy of the stock going up. So building the premiums into earnings and then have an opportunity to lock some of those in before the earnings report. But like VKTX, it's been such a frustrating stock to trade since its big move up at the end of February into March after its positive data. But at some point, this is either going to get M&A or there'll be some kind of catalyst. All right, so that's VKTX. Align Technologies reports after the close on Wednesday as well. Historically, this has had some crazy post-earnings moves that have turned some far out of the money calls into serious multi-bagging opportunities. I'm not saying deja vu is going to happen again. Last earnings, it had a huge beat and raise. The stock was gapping in the pre-market. I was almost disappointed. I didn't have any spec calls heading into the report, and then was it do reverses it and closes flat on the session? And then the stock has sold off ever since. So I'd be surprised if it's not another strong beat and raise. It's just a matter of how the market reacts. And you start looking at the weekly strikes. I think it's the 330s look interesting on a risk reward basis, similar to VKTX. Add some calls before the earnings today into Wednesday, close out some or all before the earnings Wednesday after the close. And if able to get some out for 100%, hold some freebies. If not, revisit. So may look at those. Baidu's up here at $92. Asian markets were mixed overnight, so kind of surprising here, but good sign. At some point, I'll look to add some more Baidu strikes, but I'll just hold my August calls for now. Unity, so disappointing all the way up into 18s. And then the last couple sessions, the big pullback to 16 and change, actually broke under 16 Friday afternoon before bouncing into the close. Still like that one for upside. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Not much to update here on Turn. The last of my July 10s expired. Of course, in hindsight, I could have closed them out flat or green before that big pull on the Roche news. But what are you going to do? Still like this one for upside. They can have data any day, any minute. They can have their data is going to be due out anytime at the second half. I think that's about it, folks. I'll try and get back on audio later. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.